I am 74 years old, and I am sitting on a bench outside a public library at dusk because I have nowhere else to be. The parking lot in front of me is empty. The wind is pushing a paper cup across the asphalt, and it makes that scratching, hollow sound that only empty things make. On my lap is a manila envelope, old, soft at the corners, stained with something I don't remember spilling. Inside this envelope is a single piece of paper, folded into thirds along creases so worn they've turned white, like scars on skin that's been cut in the same place too many times. It's a property transfer document, legal language, county seal, notary stamp, and at the bottom, in fading blue ink, my signature, my hand, my name. The last meaningful thing I ever wrote. I run my fingertip across that signature, and I can feel the ghost of the pen stroke. The paper is so thin there now, so tired from being folded and unfolded and folded again over the years, that it feels like touching the wing of something dead. And every time I touch it, I hear the same sentence in my head, the same truth I'm going to say to you right now, before you make the same mistake I did. I signed my house over to my son with my own hand, and he used that same document, that same transfer, that same gift I gave him out of love, to push me out the front door of my own home. I gave him my house. He gave me the street. Let me tell you how a man earns a house and loses it without a single crime being committed. I worked at a meatpacking plant for 30 years. 30 years. You don't know what that smells like, so let me tell you. Iron. Cold. The kind of cold that doesn't come from weather, but from refrigerated rooms where dead things hang from hooks, and you stand on concrete for 12 hours until your knees sound like gravel in a bag. That smell gets into your skin. It gets under your fingernails. It follows you to bed. I'd come home and scrub my hands with dish soap and lemon juice, and I could still smell it on my palms while I cooked dinner for my boy. My wife died when our son was 11. Pneumonia that turned into something worse because we didn't have the insurance to catch it early enough. She went into the hospital on a Tuesday, and by Friday they were asking me about arrangements. That's how fast it happened. That's how fast a family of 3 becomes a man and a boy, standing in a kitchen that still smells like her perfume, trying to figure out how to survive. So I built everything around him. Everything. I worked double shifts, sometimes back to back. The smell of iron and bleach so deep in my clothes I eventually stopped noticing. I cooked every meal. I learned to braid hair for school picture day before I realized boys don't need braids, but I learned it anyway because I was so terrified of failing that I prepared for things that weren't even required. I went to every baseball game. I sat in those metal bleachers in the heat with my work boots still on because I'd driven straight from the plant, and I cheered like I wasn't dying on the inside from exhaustion. And I denied myself everything. New clothes, vacations, a night out, a second chance at companionship. All of it went to him. Every dollar, every decision, every ounce of energy I had left at the end of the day went into making sure that boy had a foundation. The lie I believed, The lie that made all of this feel noble instead of dangerous was simple. If you sacrifice enough, your children owe you. Not in a transactional way, or at least that's what I told myself. In a natural way, in a gravity way. Like, if you pour that much love into something, the love has to come back. That's just physics. That's just how the universe works. It's not. The universe doesn't keep receipts. Only I did. When my son got married, he was 29 and I was 61. His wife was a nice woman, organized, ambitious. She wanted stability, and I understood that because I wanted it too. And somewhere in those early months of their marriage, the idea surfaced. Why not sign the house over? Put it in his name. Keep the family together. Avoid probate when the time comes. It made sense on paper. It made sense in my chest. I remember sitting in the lawyer's office. It smelled like new carpet and toner ink and the chemical sharpness of fresh documents. The lawyer slid the paper across the desk. I picked up the pen. It was heavier than it should have been, or maybe that's just how I remember it now. The pen scratched across the signature line, and I felt something leave me, something I couldn't name at the time. My son shook my hand afterward, firm, brief, professional, like we'd just closed a deal. And I suppose we had. I just didn't read the terms. Now let me tell you about the night I lost my home. I need you to hear every detail of this, because I need you to smell what I smelled and hear what I heard, so that this never happens to you. It was 18 months after I signed that paper. 18 months. I was living in the back bedroom, the small one at the end of the hallway, the room that used to be my son's childhood room. His model airplanes were gone. His posters were gone. But the carpet still had the dent from where his bed used to be. And some nights I'd put my foot on that dent and just stand there, remembering. That evening I had cooked dinner for the whole house. Garlic, roasted chicken, rosemary from a small pot I kept on the kitchen windowsill, the same windowsill I had installed myself 22 years earlier. The kitchen still smelled like the meal when my son knocked on my door. He didn't wait for me to answer. He just opened it. That should have been my first sign, because you don't open a door without waiting when you're about to say something kind. He sat on the edge of the bed, my bed, the bed I slept in inside the house I built, with 3 decades of breaking my body on a factory floor. He sat there and he looked at the wall, not at me, at the wall, like the wall had the script and he was reading from it. And he said, "Dad, we think it'd be better if you found your own place." The room went silent, not quiet, silent. The kind of silence that has weight to it, the kind that presses against your eardrums like water. I could hear the clock on the wall ticking. That clock. My wife picked out that clock. She bought it at a flea market the year we moved in because she said every home needs a heartbeat, and that clock was ours. It ticked in the gap between his sentence and my breath, and each tick sounded like a nail being hammered into something I couldn't see. I asked him where I was supposed to go. I said it calmly. I said it the way a man says things when he's so far past shock that his voice goes flat, like a lake before a storm. Where am I supposed to go, son? This is my home. But it wasn't. Not anymore. Not legally. Not on paper. Not since that day in the lawyer's office when I picked up that pen and signed my name and traded my ground for a handshake. He said, "We'll help you figure that out." And I knew, the way you know weather before it arrives, that they wouldn't. "We'll help you figure that out" is what people say when they've already figured it out for themselves, and you're not part of the equation. I packed 2 suitcases. That's what 30 years of earning and building and maintaining fits into when someone else owns the walls. 2 suitcases. I walked down that hallway slowly because I knew it was the last time. I passed the kitchen. I'd tiled that floor myself, every tile, on my knees, with a sponge and a level and grout under my fingernails for a week. I passed the door frame where I'd penciled my son's height every birthday. Those marks were still there. 5 years old, 8, 12, 15. A whole life measured in pencil on wood, and now someone else's family would paint over it or sand it away, and never know a boy grew up there, loved by a man who gave too much. I walked out to the porch, the same porch where I taught him to tie his shoes, where we sat after his mother's funeral, eating sandwiches neither of us tasted. The front door closed behind me, and then I heard it, the deadbolt, turning, locking, my deadbolt, the one I installed with my own drill on a Sunday afternoon because I wanted my family to be safe. I stood on that porch for 11 minutes. I know because I counted the ticks from that clock through the door. My wife's clock, still beating inside a house I was no longer welcome in. Nobody opened the door. Nobody came to the window. The porch light didn't even stay on. It clicked off automatically at 9, the timer I had set myself. And I stood there in the dark, on the porch of a house I built. And the dark swallowed me the same way the document had. Quietly, legally, completely. Now I live in a 1-room studio apartment. The state subsidizes the rent. The room smells like baseboard heat and instant noodles, that salty chemical smell that sticks to the ceiling and never quite leaves. There is a plastic nightstand next to my bed. It's the only piece of furniture in this room that I actually own. Everything else is rented, borrowed, or donated. And in the top drawer of that nightstand, under a gas bill and a church pamphlet someone slid under my door, sits the manila envelope. Every Sunday night, I open that drawer. I take out the envelope. I unfold the document along the same 3 creases, and my signature stares up at me like a confession. I didn't just sign a paper. I signed permission. Permission for my own son to look me in the eye and tell me I was in the way. The paper crinkles in the silence of this room, and it's the loudest sound I hear all week. Louder than the baseboard heater clicking, louder than the hallway neighbors I never speak to, louder than the phone, which rings once or twice on holidays. My son calls, brief, polite. The kind of polite that has guilt stitched into it like a thread you can feel but can't pull. You doing okay, Dad? 90 seconds. That's the call. 90 seconds of a son performing the minimum so he can sleep at night. And I say yes, because what else is there to say? What am I going to do? Argue? He has the house. He has the deed. He has the law. I have a manila envelope and a plastic nightstand. I refold the document along the same creases every Sunday. Press them flat with my thumbnail. Slide it back in. Close the drawer. The paper is so soft at the folds now, so thin that it's going to tear soon. One more year, maybe two, and the creases will give out and the paper will fall apart in my hands. And when it does, I don't know what I'll hold on to. Because this apartment has no photographs. The walls are bare. That document is the only proof I ever had a home. And it is also the receipt for giving it away. Now I'm going to talk to you, and I'm not going to be gentle about it. You think giving everything means they can't leave you. It doesn't. It means they don't have to stay. You've given them everything they need. Why would they keep you around? You already served your purpose. You already signed. If you are sitting there right now, right this moment, thinking about signing over your house to your child, your sibling, your anyone, because you think it's the loving thing to do, I need you to hear me like I'm standing in your living room with my hand on your shoulder. Do not do it. Love your children. Love them with every broken piece of your heart. But keep the deed. Keep the roof. Keep the ground you stand on. Your house is not a gift. It's your ground. It is the one thing between you and a bench outside a library at dusk. And the moment you hand someone the ground you stand on, you are not being generous. You are asking permission to exist in your own life, and permission can be revoked. I promise you that. I am living proof. Generosity without boundaries isn't love. It's a trap door. And you won't hear the click until you're already falling. I built that house with 30 years of breaking my back on a factory floor that smelled like iron and death. I built it with hands that bled and knees that gave out and a spine that curved under the weight of doing it all alone. And my signature gave it all away in 30 seconds. Don't you dare hand someone the keys to your life and call it love. I'm folding this document one last time now, slower than usual, pressing the creases flat with my thumbnail, sliding it back into the envelope, closing the drawer. And now my hands are empty, and the room is silent, and Sunday is over, and nobody is calling.